Introduction. The right to vote is one of the most precious rights we have as American citizens. By voting on leaders and issues, we help determine our way of life. You, as election poll workers, play a vital part in ensuring that the registered voters within your parish are able to vote in a secure and fair manner. This video is designed to help you on Election Day in setting up the precinct polling place and voting machines, allowing voters to vote, and assisting those with disabilities. By performing your duties as commissioners in charge and as commissioners, you can help make voting accessible and pleasant for everyone. Voting hours. Voting hours Saturday elections. For elections held on Saturdays, the polls will open at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. You must arrive at the polling place no later than 6:15 a.m. If the building isn't open or the commissioner in charge has not arrived by 6:30 a.m., call the clerk of court's office. Tuesday elections. For elections held on Tuesdays, the polls will open at 6 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. You must arrive at the polling place no later than 5:15 a.m. If the building isn't open or the commissioner in charge has not arrived by 5:30 a.m., call the clerk of court's office. As a poll worker, you should consider voting during the early voting period because you may not be assigned to work in your own precinct and you may not leave the polling place on Election Day. Any breaks during the day should be organized by the clerk and/or the commissioner in charge while you remain at the polling place. Verification. Key Envelope A. The key envelope A will have the voting machine keys and important information you must verify. Verify the machine number, ward, precinct, and location on the front of key envelope A by comparing it to the machine tag located on top of the machine and the voting machine serial number on the top and sides of the voting machine. Each voting machine has two keys. The yellow-capped key opens the back door and front panels on the machine. The silver key opens and closes the polls. These keys have serial numbers that match the serial number on the sides and top of the voting machine. If there are any discrepancies, call the clerk of court's office immediately. Machines and precinct supplies. You must open the back of each voting machine assigned to your precinct using the yellow-capped key in the key envelope A. Before removing the supply items, note how they are packed and stored in the machine so you can replicate this step at the end of the evening. Verify that the red protective seal number for the clear plastic cover over the blue results cartridge matches the cartridge seal number written on the key envelope A. From the back of the supply or lead voting machine, remove the green canvas bag with all of your supplies and the precinct register book. Once the precinct register book has been removed, verify the red seal number on the precinct register book matches the seal number written on the key envelope A. The green canvas supply bag includes a general form zipper bag and a precinct-specific envelope. Locate the machine certificate and notation of irregularities forms in the general forms zipper bag. You will be recording information on the machine certificate throughout the setup process, including the cartridge seal number and the precinct register book seal numbers you previously verified. If you encounter any issues during this process or any other issues throughout the day, they must be documented on the notation of irregularities form. Locate the blue seal cutter in the general forms zipper bag. Use the blue seal cutter to cut the red seal on the precinct register book. Return the blue seal cutter back to the general forms zipper bag. Open the precinct register book and verify the precinct register pages have the correct ward and precinct, election date, and parish located at the top of the page. If there are any discrepancies, call the clerk of court's office immediately. Pre-election setup. Administering the oath. On the back of the informational pamphlet found in the general forms zipper bag, the commissioner in charge administers the oath on Election Day to all commissioners and takes the oath themselves prior to the opening of the polls on Election Day. Safety check of the polling place. Safety hazards and barriers to voters must be secured and removed. Check your voting area for objects that might cause a mobility hazard. Look for electrical cords, clutter, unsecured mats or rugs, locked doors, and any other barriers. If temporary accessibility equipment is being used, such as ramps, temporary signs, cones, or mats, make sure they're in place. Call the clerk's office immediately if you're missing any temporary accessibility equipment. Machine setup. Position the voting machines, lock the wheels, plug in the first machine, and daisy chain the others together. Look for the yellow AC power light to confirm power is working on the voting machines. Check for any physical damage to the machines. If you observe any physical damage, make a notation on the machine certificate, and if service is needed due to damage, call the clerk of court or the voting machine warehouse technician immediately. Attach the operator panel by hanging it on the exterior of the voting machine. Retrieve the audio bag and connect the audio unit to the back of the supply or lead voting machine. Locate the red knob to power on the voting machine by turning the knob to the on position. Wait for the voting machine to completely power up. Look at the operator panel. It should read, "Ready to open polls, election." If you get any error message, it is important to call the clerk's office or speak to a machine technician to report the error and get instructions before proceeding. Opening the polls. Open the polls on every voting machine. To open the polls, insert the silver key into the polls open, polls close slot and turn the key to the open position. You'll hear an electronic sound. Remove the key immediately. It is important to remove the silver key so that you do not turn the key to the closed position before the end of voting at 8 p.m. Should you close the polls before 8 p.m., this machine can no longer be used. If this happens, call the clerk immediately. The zero proof report and closing the back of the machine. After opening the polls, one copy of the official election zero proof report will automatically begin printing. If the clerk of court requires more than one copy, you must print these now by pressing the Print More button. Remove the zero proof report and review to verify that the time and the serial number of the voting machine are correct. Compare the protective counter to the number on the lower left-hand corner of the operator panel screen. Make sure the public counter is 0. Verify the ward and precinct are correct, and verify that all candidate and proposition counters are 0. You can now close the back of the machine. Thread the operator panel cord through the groove in the back door, close, and lock the door with the yellow-capped key. Raising front panel, completing B2 key envelope. Move to the front of the voting machine and pull the voter panel up in a vertical position. It won't drop or fall. This is the position to use for voters who need to be seated while voting. Now, move to the back of the voting machine and pull the maroon latch and tilt the voter panel until it is resting on the back of the voting unit. Move to the front of the voting machine again to unlock the front panel using the yellow-capped key. Unfold the doors. Carefully raise the top white panel with one hand and move a side door into place, joining it with the bracket on the inside top of the door, then joining the second door. Remove the curtains from the tube by pushing the release button on the tube above the wheels. Unroll the curtains and open the frame into a U shape. Gently push the arms of the curtain frame through the open knobs on the inside of the front doors. Check that the ballot information is all correct. To do this, make sure the ballot information on the zero proof report matches the ballot information on the machine face and that it matches the ballot information on the sample ballot found in the precinct-specific envelope. If any ballot information is not correct, call the clerk's office. If all is correct, fill in the date on the zero report and have all commissioners sign the report before posting it at the entrance to the polling place. You may find the Braille book and a full-page magnifier located on the inside front door of the supply or lead machine or in the green canvas bag for anyone's use to be able to magnify the ballot on the voting machine. Place voting machine keys in the B2 key envelope and seal. All commissioners sign the key envelope and it remains sealed until voting is complete or if the keys are needed to service a voting machine. All service information must be documented on the back of the envelope. Putting out the Vote Here A-frame signs. All polling places will have at least one A-frame Vote Here sign. They are to be placed outside the polling place in the morning where voters can see them from the road while driving on Election Day. After the polls are closed, they must be picked up and placed next to the voting machines. Posting all reports and informational posters. Post the signage from your supply pack at the entrance to the polling place using the white stickers included in your supplies. This includes the election date and hours poster. Prior to posting, fill in the correct date and polling hours. Also post the notice to the voters, picture ID poster, the sample ballot, the security poster, and if applicable, the statement of constitutional amendments. You also have an accessible entrance sign that may need directional arrows added to show voters with disabilities where to enter the polling place. Also, post the Louisiana Voters' Bill of Rights and voting information poster. This poster contains voting information such as voter registration, how to use the voting machine, election offenses, and who to contact to report fraud, etc. On occasion, commissioners may need to post a notice of candidate withdrawal or disqualification form, but only if instructed to do so by the clerk of court. The supplies also contain a red stop sign. Commissioners post the stop sign outside the polling place entrance to remind voters that no political activity is allowed. Electioneering. Electioneering or political materials are not allowed within 600 feet of the entrance to the polling place. If there are any political signs within this perimeter, call the clerk's office. They should be removed unless the signs are on private property. This also includes voter political materials such as shirts, caps, buttons, cards, etc. that promote a candidate or issue. They are not allowed. A voter can go to the restroom and turn their campaign shirt inside out. Remember, commissioners may not make comments about candidates, propositions, or constitutional amendments. Commissioners have the power to ask any person who is electioneering or disturbing voting within 600 feet of the polling location to leave the premises. If they do not follow a commissioner's order, call law enforcement. Voter registration forms. For the sign-in table, commissioners are required by law to have voter registration applications available next to the precinct register. Voters may use an application to register to vote or update their voter registration information, such as name misspelling, party affiliation, residence, mailing address, birthday, change in assistance to voting, etc. Notation of irregularities form. The notation of irregularities form can be found in the precinct-specific envelope. Remember that this form is used by you to document all issues that can occur with the polling place, voting machines, supplies, commissioners, emergencies, voters, public counts, watchers, or any other incidents or issues. Completing Section 1 of the machine certificate. Before voting begins, complete the first part of the machine certificate. Write the time the keys were received, the serial number of each voting machine, the serial number of each blue results cartridge, the protective counter of each machine, the numbers shown for the public counter, and list any visible damage to any voting machine. Indicate that you compared the ballot information on the zero proof report, the sample ballot, and machine face ballot, and that they match. Last, record the seal number that was delivered on the precinct register book. Verifying the blue precinct register seal. Before voting begins, verify you have a blue seal in the precinct register book to reseal the book after the polls close. If a blue seal is broken or missing, call the clerk to have it replaced before the end of the night. Precinct register book sections. The precinct register books are divided into 5 sections. The first section contains a list of the registered voters who are eligible to vote in this precinct for this election. There are several columns on this page that contain voter information as it pertains to this election. Voter number is the voter's unique registration number. Name of voter is listed with the last name first. Signature line is where the voter signs their name after the commissioner has verified the voter's eligibility. A voter cannot vote if the signature line is already signed by the voter, or if voted by mail or voted early has been printed or stamped on the signature line. If address confirmation required is printed here, a voter must complete an address confirmation card before voting. Commissioner initials. Once a voter has been verified, the commissioner will initial here. If ROV is already printed, then the voter has voted by mail or voted early. If voters sign the precinct register books during early voting, it will contain initials by the registrar's staff. Barcode. It is important that nothing is written or marked on the barcode, otherwise it will not scan for the registrar. Address, date of birth, and mother's maiden name. This column is used for identification purposes. Lockout districts. This column will either be blank or contain a button number. If blank, all voters in the precinct get the same ballot to vote. If there is a button number, this is the number that the commissioner will select and activate on the operator panel. Assistant. Assistance to voter column indicates if the voter is eligible to receive assistance. It will either be blank or have a Y for yes in it. Party. This is the column showing the voter's registration choice for their political party. Supplemental tab. The precinct register contains tabs for specific information. The supplemental tab is where you put supplemental precinct register pages that are delivered election morning by the clerk's office before voting begins and will arrive in the list or supplemental list envelope. These pages are used to find voters when they are not in the original pages of the precinct register. Also in this envelope, you may find a list of persons that voted absentee by mail and red pens. Always work the supplemental list of persons that voted absentee by mail by finding the voter's name in the precinct register and writing voted by mail on their signature line and initialing with the provided red pens so that if they come into the precinct to vote, you will know that they have already voted. You may also receive a call from the registrar to mark voted by mail on a voter's signature line if a ballot is received by the registrar from a military person or overseas citizen on Election Day. If you do not receive the list or supplemental envelope and need to know if a person is authorized to vote, call the registrar or the Secretary of State's office for assistance. Remember to check these supplemental precinct register pages if you do not find a voter's name in the original precinct register. Precinct Register Correction Affidavit tab. The Precinct Register Correction Affidavit tab contains blank precinct register pages for commissioners to print a voter's name and have them sign when using a precinct register correction form. This form is only used when a voter's name is not found in the precinct register or the supplemental precinct register and an election official authorizes the voter to vote. If a voter wishes to make changes, such as misspelling, incorrect birthday, address, mother's maiden name, political party, etc., they can do so by completing a new registration form. If there is a lockout, the Registrar of Voters or Secretary of State's office will give you the correct button number to press on the operator panel. Provisional Voters tab. This tab is only used during federal elections when a person votes a provisional ballot. The commissioner prints the voter's name on the precinct register pages behind the Provisional Voters tab. The voter signs next to their name, prints their address, and the commissioner initials. Election Day voting. Identifying voters. In order to vote, a person must have a photo ID or complete a voter identification affidavit. For photo ID, commissioners may accept any generally recognized photo ID that has the voter's name and signature, such as a Louisiana driver's license, Louisiana special identification card, or school ID, or even an out-of-state driver's license is acceptable if it contains the three important things: the photo, the voter's name, and the voter's signature. Voters may also use the Louisiana Wallet Digital Driver's License as a form of identification. If the voter chooses this form of ID, they should have the Louisiana Wallet open on their device. The commissioner must view the digital license without handling the voter's device to check the photo, the voter's name, and the voter's signature. If further validation is necessary, the commissioner may ask the voter to show the Louisiana Wallet security seal. The voter can press and hold the license on the screen to reveal the security seal. If the commissioner doubts the acceptability of any ID presented by a voter, the voter must complete a voter identification affidavit, AV-34. After identifying the voter, find the voter's name in the precinct register or supplemental precinct register in alpha order by last name. A woman may be listed under a maiden or married last name, and therefore the commissioner may need to ask and check several last names to find the voter. Commissioners must also compare the voter's date of birth, if available, to the information in the precinct register to make certain that the person before them is the same person in the precinct register and not someone else with the same name. Lack of identification. Do not turn away a voter for lack of identification. If a voter does not have a photo ID, they must complete a voter identification affidavit. The voter will be required to write their date of birth and mother's maiden name and sign it. Mother's maiden name is required on all voter registration applications, and therefore you will see each voter's mother's maiden name in the precinct register, or if unknown, you will see the word unknown. Commissioners must compare the voter's name, the date of birth, and the mother's maiden name on the affidavit with the information in the precinct register to make certain that this person is the same person in the precinct register before allowing them to vote. If the applicant is unable to read or write or cannot complete the affidavit due to a disability, a commissioner may assist him in completing the affidavit. All voters who complete a voter identification affidavit are subject to challenge before voting. They may be challenged by a commissioner, a watcher, or a voter in the precinct if they do not believe the person is who they say they are, or the person should not be voting in the precinct or in the election. Challenges are made using the challenge of voter form. The commissioners determine whether to allow the challenge or not by majority vote. Checking for special notations on signature line in precinct register. Always check the signature line for a voter, and if it has a notation, then action may be required. If the notation reads voted by mail or voted early, the voter may not vote at the polls. If the signature line reads address confirmation required, the voter must complete an address confirmation card before being allowed to vote. This form is required for the voter to affirm their residential address or to provide an updated address. Each year, the registrar conducts a canvass to confirm each voter's address, and if the address is not verified during the canvass, it must be updated or verified before voting. If a voter moved out of the parish within the last 3 months before the election, they may provide their updated address and vote. However, the form instructs the voter that if they cannot affirm that they moved within the last 3 months, they are not to vote. If they moved to another parish within the state, they can complete a voter registration application to re-register at their new address. All completed voter registration applications are placed in the pink ROV envelope. Announcing the voter, signing the precinct register, and creating poll lists. After finding the voter's name in the precinct register or supplemental precinct register pages and confirming that they are eligible to vote, have the voter sign the precinct register. If a voter is unable to sign, they may make a mark. Commissioners compare the voter's signature on the photo ID to their signature in the precinct register. If the commissioner is satisfied that it is the voter, they must initial in the column next to the voter's name in the precinct register, being careful not to write in the barcode area. The commissioner will now announce the voter's name and spell the name out loud to the two commissioners writing names in the pink PL53 and gold PL53 duplicate poll lists. It is important that the voters' names are correctly spelled and nicknames are not used. Commissioners writing names in the poll list must print the names. Do not write in cursive. It is okay for a commissioner who works the precinct register to also keep a poll list if necessary. Using the Go Vote app on smartphones or tablets. You may download the free Go Vote app on your smartphone or tablet. This may help you to assist a voter to look up their correct polling place. You can encourage voters to download the Go Vote app as well. Assistance in voting. What if a voter needs assistance or asks for assistance in voting? Our law allows a voter to have assistance if they are unable to read or have a physical disability, including being visually impaired. Voters may be registered to vote as needing assistance, in which case you will find a Y for yes in the assistance column in the precinct register. These voters are entitled to have assistance from anyone they choose, except a commissioner in charge, a candidate, an employer, a union agent, or the staff from state-operated facilities for disabled persons. The voter and the assistant must complete a voter assistance form. You will find this form in the general form zipper bag. You must write in the parish, ward, and precinct and the voter's registration number in Section 1 of the form. The assistant must fill out Section 2 of the form, and the voter must sign or make their mark at the bottom of Section 3 of the form. If the assistance column is blank, a voter who has a physical disability may still receive assistance by completing the voter assistance form. Again, Section 1 of the form must be completed by you. The person providing assistance must complete Section 2, and the voter must sign or make their mark at the bottom of Section 3. If the voter wishes to be marked in the precinct register as needing assistance for future elections, they should complete the entirety of Section 3 of the voter assistance form and answer yes to the question, do you want to change your registration to indicate that you require assistance in voting? The voter may alternatively complete a new voter registration application, making sure to check yes in the voter assistance box, or may present other disability documentation, such as a doctor's certificate, an official OMV mobility impaired ID card with a photo, a copy of a disability letter from Social Security, veterans, citizens with developmental disabilities, Louisiana Rehabilitation Services, or paratransit services. The doctor's certificate and copies of any disability document must be kept and placed in the pink Registrar of Voters envelope. If the voter does not have a copy, have them complete the voter assistance form or the voter registration application instead. Place all completed voter assistance forms in the pink Registrar of Voters envelope. If a voter requires assistance because they are unable to read, the voter's assistant should complete and sign Section 2 of the voter's assistance form. The voter should sign Section 3, and you should complete Section 1. Remember that any voter may use the audio unit without any documentation or notation of being marked as needing assistance. Refer to the informational pamphlet for Election Day voting or to the quick chart guide to using the audio voting keypad located in the General Forms envelope to inform a voter on how to operate the audio unit and before activating the voting machine. How to activate a voting machine. Look under the Lockout District column in the precinct register for each voter to determine which button number is needed to activate their ballot. If needed, write the number down and give it to the commissioner activating the machine. On the operator panel, press the button number for the voter, for example, button 1, then press the green Activate button. If the voter's button number is 3, you would press button 3, then the green Activate button. If you accidentally press a wrong button number, it is okay for you to press the correct button number before pressing Activate. But if you have already pressed the Activate button with an incorrect button number, call the clerk's office for help. If there is no button number in the precinct register, you simply activate the machine by pressing the green Activate button on the operator panel. Once the voting machine is activated, it will make a sound, and the light next to the Activate button will light up. The display screen on the operator panel will read "Voter Active" and the booth light will come on. Tell the voter to enter when it's their turn. Curtains won't automatically open or close. You may inform the voter on how to operate the voting machine by telling them to look for a green light by the titles of offices they are eligible to vote for. To vote for a candidate, a voter must press the white box to the right of the candidate's name or next to the yes or no for propositions. A green X will light up to the left of the box, not inside the box. If a voter would like to change their vote prior to pressing the Cast Vote button, you may instruct them to deselect their choice by pressing the white box again. The green X will disappear, and the voter can then press the white box next to their new selection. Again, the green X will appear to the left of the box and not in the box. After making all selections, the voter must press the orange Cast Vote button in the bottom right-hand corner. You'll hear an electronic beep like this. Their vote is now recorded, and the machine is automatically ready to be activated for the next voter. All voters are allowed 6 minutes to vote or 20 minutes if using the audio unit. Fled voter. If you do not hear the electronic beep, the voter did not cast their vote. If possible, have the voter return to the booth to cast their vote. If the voter has left the polling location, this is a fled voter and must be documented on the Notation of Irregularities form. There are two types of fled voters. The first type is when the voter makes selections but exits the booth before pressing the Cast Vote button. If the voter has not left the polling place, you can have the voter return to this same machine to press the Cast Vote button. The second type is when the voter left the booth without making a selection. In either case, the commissioner never enters the voting booth as a voter's selections are confidential. Reach your hand under the curtain and press the Cast Vote button. If you hear the Cast Vote electronic sound, the choices made by the fled voter are cast. If you do not hear the Cast Vote electronic sound, the voter did not make any selections. Therefore, the machine count will not advance, and the precinct register will have one more person than the number of voters on the machine's public counter. All types of fled voters must be documented on the Notation of Irregularities form. Remember, you should check the public counter numbers on your machines with the number of voters in your poll list throughout the day to ensure they match. If they don't, note the discrepancy on the Notation of Irregularities form with the time and details. Voters with disabilities. It is important to watch and allow any voter who has a visible physical disability, such as a voter in a wheelchair or with a walker or cane, and the person assisting them to go to the front of the line. Also, any voter who presents an official OMV mobility impaired ID card with a photo and the person assisting them may go to the front of the line. Always use proper etiquette to talk to the voter and not their assistant, and remember that the commissioner may not decide if a person is competent to vote. Always ask before assuming that a person may need help. For example, do not take a visually impaired voter's arm, but offer your own arm as assistance. Do not touch any sight animal without asking the voter first. And for a hearing impaired voter, you may gently tap their shoulder and point when showing where to go. If a voter has trouble understanding you, patiently repeat or rephrase your instructions. Plainly give one instruction at a time and wait until the task is completed before giving the next. Feel free to physically demonstrate how to operate a voting machine. And if a voter is in a wheelchair, you may lower the voting machine to help them. Voters with children. A voter is allowed to bring their child with them inside the voting booth. Instruct the voter to have the child stand on their left side to prevent the child from accidentally pressing the Cast Vote button before the voter is ready to finalize their vote. Nothing can be changed after the Cast Vote button is pressed. Watchers. Individuals known as watchers may monitor activities at the polling place, but they may not interfere with voting. They may call out infractions of the law to the commissioner, and they may take notes, but they are not allowed to review or copy from the precinct register as it contains confidential information. Watchers must have a commission issued by the Parish Board of Election Supervisors. Verify the commission and then return it. Candidates and those supporting or opposing a proposition are entitled to one watcher and one alternate watcher at every precinct where the candidate or proposition is on the ballot. A watcher and alternate may not serve at the same time, but they can split the day or come and go, but may not disrupt voting. A candidate may also have one commissioned super watcher who is allowed into the candidate's precinct at the same time as either the watcher or alternate watchers. A candidate may also have one commissioned super watcher who is allowed into the candidate's precincts at the same time as either the watcher or alternate watcher. Additionally, the Democratic and Republican parties may have commissioned super watchers in any precinct where an affiliated candidate is on the ballot. Commissioners have the authority to regulate the number of watchers inside the polling place if necessary. Commissioners have the authority to regulate the number of watchers inside the polling place if necessary. Exit pollsters who are with national media outlets may be authorized to be at a polling place. This usually occurs during a presidential election. The clerk of court will inform you if any exit pollsters are authorized at your polling place on election day. Law enforcement at the polls. Law enforcement officers are not stationed at polling places, and they may not serve as commissioners, but they may appear and vote if they are on duty, and they may be called by the commissioners if needed to enforce the commissioner's orders. Except for law enforcement officers, guns are not permitted at polling places, even if a person has a concealed carry permit. These prohibitions in the law are listed on the Voters' Bill of Rights poster. Emergencies. There are many kinds of emergencies that can occur at a polling location, ranging from machine errors to major power outages, fires, or gas leaks, to name a few. So what would you do if your precinct encounters an emergency? First, analyze the severity of the emergency and ensure the safety of all poll workers and voters. Then call the clerk's office immediately. If you must exit the building and it is possible to safely retrieve the blue cartridges located in the back of the voting machines, please do so by unlocking the machine, powering it off, breaking the red seal over the blue results cartridge, and removing the cartridge. Stand by for further instructions from the Clerk of Court's office and/or Secretary of State's office. Closing the polls. Close the polls using the Close Polls checklist found in the back of the informational pamphlet. Never close the polls before 8 p.m. At 8 p.m., move voters inside the polling place if possible. Close and lock the doors or post a commissioner at the end of the line. Let everyone in line vote. Secure the voting machines after the last person in line at 8 p.m. has voted. Poll list and closing the polls on the machines. Complete the back page of the two poll lists and sign. Remove the keys from the B2 key envelope and unlock the back of the voting machines with the yellow-capped key. Use the silver key to turn the poll's open-close slot to the closed position. You'll hear an electronic sound. Remove the key and the printer will print 4 election results reports. While these are printing, begin closing the front of the voting machine. Closing the front of the voting machine. Remove the curtain, roll it up, and place it in the storage tube. Return the full-page magnifier to the green canvas bag or the pocket on the front door of the machine. Close and lock the front doors with the yellow-capped key and lower the panel to the down position. Results cartridges. After the 4 copies of the results are completely finished printing, turn the power off by turning the red Power On/Off knob to the off position. Remove the red seal that secures the blue results cartridges from each machine. Immediately place all blue cartridges into the clear zipper bag for the Clerk of Court. Remove the operator panel and return it, along with the audio unit, to the back of the machine. Completing all reports. Begin completing the required post-election forms and envelopes and distribute the copies accordingly. If you are not sure where to place a form, simply look at the instructions on each form or envelope. You also can refer to the informational pamphlet for assistance. Remember that gold forms go in the gold S-19 Secretary of State envelope, and pink forms go in the pink Registrar of Voters envelope. Clerk's items and forms go into the clerk's clear plastic zipper bag. Completing Section 2 of the machine certificate. After closing the polls, complete the second part of the machine certificate. Write the time the voting machines were closed. Write the serial number of each voting machine and their numbers shown for the protective counter and the public counter. List any visible damage to any voting machine, and record the blue seal number used to reseal the precinct register books. After all commissioners have signed the 4 election results reports, distribute them as follows. Tape one on the outside wall of the polling place or inside on glass so that it may be viewed from the outside using the white stickers provided in the green canvas supply bag. Place one report in the registrar's pink envelope. Place one report in the Secretary of State's gold envelope, and place one report in the clerk's clear plastic zipper bag. Complete the affidavit of payroll. When completing the affidavit of payroll form, remember that each commissioner should write their own information and certify that the information is correct. The commissioner's name must be the same as on their Social Security card, and the last 4 numbers of the Social Security number must be provided, along with the mailing address, signature, and initials of each commissioner and the hours worked by each commissioner. Commissioner pay is based on these affidavits, and checks are mailed by the Secretary of State's office usually 14 days after payroll is submitted by the clerk's office. Calling before that time may only delay the processing of payroll. After closing the polls and locking the machines, remove the zero-proof report from the wall and place it in the Secretary of State's gold envelope. Take down all posters and signs from the wall and discard. All unused forms and supplies must be returned to the green canvas bag. Pick up the A-frame Vote Here sign from outside and place near the voting machine. Secure any temporary accessibility equipment, if any, and move equipment and furniture to their original places. Dispose of all trash and leave the polling place clean and neat. Place the sealed precinct register and the pink Registrar of Voters envelope in the registrar's canvas bag, if one is provided, along with the green canvas supply bag and the audio bag in the back of the voting machine. Using the yellow-capped key, lock the back of the machine. Complete and sign the C3 key envelope and place the machine keys in it. Put this envelope in the Clerk of Court's clear plastic zipper bag. Delivering results. Make sure that you have placed the following in the Clerk of Court's clear plastic zipper bag: the blue results cartridges from each machine, one of the official election results reports that printed from each machine, the C3 voting machine return key envelope containing the keys to all voting machines, the affidavit of payroll, the white copy of the machine certificate form, the gold Secretary of State S-19 envelope, and the white copy of the notation of irregularities form. After closing the polling place, the commissioner in charge immediately delivers the clear plastic zipper bag to the Clerk of Court's office. Make sure to deliver the gold Secretary of State S-19 envelope to the Clerk of Court's office as well. Remember, if you have any trouble on Election Day, call the Clerk of Court's office. Your voluntary participation to assist voters on Election Day and carry out the duties bestowed upon you is a critical part of ensuring the success of elections in our state. We could not do this without your commitment and dedication. So thank you for helping the state of Louisiana ensure our voters have an efficient, positive, and fair voting experience. If training is needed on the provisional voting procedures, proceed to the next section. Provisional voting only used when a federal office is on the ballot. What is provisional voting? Provisional voting provides a fail-safe procedure for voting during federal elections when any person arrives to vote and is not listed as an eligible voter and is not authorized to vote by an election official. A provisional ballot is a paper ballot given to the voter so they are able to cast their ballot provisionally until election officials verify the voter's eligibility to vote in the federal election. It is important to note that provisional voting is not convenience voting, where a voter may appear anywhere in the state to vote and have their vote counted. When is provisional voting available? Provisional ballots are only available during a federal election and only include federal races, which are the presidential preference primary, U.S. President, U.S. Senator, and/or U.S. Representative. Provisional voting does not apply to local or state races, propositions, or constitutional amendments on the ballot during federal elections. Who is a provisional voter? Before they are given a provisional ballot, a person being considered as a provisional voter must certify in writing on the provisional ballot affidavit envelope that they are registered to vote in the parish and are eligible to vote in the election for federal office. If a voter arrives to vote and they are registered in the parish but at the wrong precinct, recommend to the voter that they go to their precinct to vote so they can vote on all candidates and questions, not just federal races. If a voter identifies with one of the following 4 categories, they may be given a provisional ballot. When a person's name does not appear in the precinct register or supplemental register, and they are not authorized to vote by an election official. When a voter is challenged and a majority of the commissioners determine that the challenge is valid. When the clerk of court or the secretary of state informs the commissioners that a court has ordered extended poll hours. Or when an inactive voter cannot vote on the voting machine because they cannot affirm that they moved outside the parish more than 3 months ago, they are not eligible to vote. Refer to the provisional voting chart in the informational pamphlet for detailed information. Please note, all forms and envelopes used with provisional voting will be printed with purple ink, except for the provisional ballot itself. There are 2 additional supply items included with the regular supplies in the back of the voting machine for federal elections. A Braille booklet envelope, which will be located in the green canvas bag, and a purple Election Day provisional packet, which will be located in the precinct-specific envelope. It will contain the provisional ballots and affidavit envelopes for the precinct and pencils. Important. Always open the purple Election Day provisional packet and inventory your supplies in a federal election. Follow the instructions in the informational pamphlet for Election Day voting to allow for provisional voting in federal elections. When the election day ends, place all voted provisional ballot stubs, and all unused provisional ballots and affidavit envelopes back into the purple Election Day provisional packet and return it to the clerk of court with a clear plastic zipper bag. The Braille booklet provides voting information for any voter with a visual impairment who reads Braille, and it will be returned to the green canvas bag. What is the procedure for voting provisionally? When allowing a person to vote a provisional ballot, the commissioner prints the voter's name in the precinct register behind the Provisional Voters tab. The voter signs next to their name, prints their address, and the commissioner initials. The person's name is also written in the 2 poll lists on the second to last page, starting at number 1681. The commissioner selects the appropriate provisional ballot from the supply envelope, removes the ballot number stub from the bottom portion, and retains the stub. The commissioner completes the top red portion of the provisional envelope flap by writing the ballot stub number in 2 places on the envelope flap and writing the ward, if any, and the precinct number. The envelope clearly states where the commissioner is to complete information and where the voter completes information. This is very important so that the voter can later track the status of their provisional ballot. The voter completes the remaining information on the envelope flap and signs. The commissioner gives the voter the provisional ballot, the envelope, and a pencil, and directs the voter to a private area where they can mark the ballot in secret. After voting, the voter seals the ballot inside the envelope and returns it to the commissioner. A pencil is provided so that the voter may change their vote if they choose, but a voter may use a pen to mark the ballot, and if the voter spoils their ballot, he may have a ballot replacement. Be sure to verify that all information is completed on the sealed envelope flap and that the voter has signed. It is important for the Commissioner to remove the red "To the provisional voter's" top portion of the envelope flap and give it to the voter so that the voter may track the status of their provisional ballot through the Secretary of State's website to see if it was counted. All voted provisional ballots and all unused provisional supplies must be returned to the Clerk of Court on election night. Commissioners should return all supplies and voted provisional ballots into the purple Election Day provisional packet envelope and complete Section 2 of the instructions as necessary. Return it to the Clerk of Court with a clear plastic zipper bag. If you are missing any provisional voting supplies, have questions, or need clarity regarding provisional voting on Election Day, call the Clerk of Court's office as soon as possible. It is always good practice to be prepared ahead of time as best you can. We thank you for your time and dedication to our great state. Our goal is to make sure everyone has an opportunity to go vote.